Hi, thank you for your willingness to serve by helping with the tech here at Middleport UMC. If you're at Middleport UMC, I suppose if you're not and you're watching this video, it's going to be pretty specific to our system, but there might be some things you can learn from it. For those of you who are serving here, we thank you for your service. I thank you for your service. It can seem a little bit overwhelming the first time you're back in this little sound booth area and responsible for everything. So hopefully this video will clarify things for you. I'm going to walk step by step through the process of turning on the sound system, and I'll make some comments about turning it off again as well. And then I'll try at the end to include a couple of potential problems. Maybe I'll do them in the video. At some point in the video, I'll try to address a couple of more common things that might come up for a little bit of troubleshooting, but I hope that you'll find this video instructive, and by the time you're done with it, this shouldn't be too hard to do. And worst case scenario, you could always play it on the computer while you're turning everything on, and that'll help you out that way. This is what the sound booth looks like when you approach it from the sanctuary. It is a bit cluttered, yes, but there's a lot of stuff that has to fit on it. In fact, sometimes it'll be more cluttered than this. But for the purpose of turning things on, the only thing you're really worried about is this power strip right here, and specifically this red switch. This should be the first thing that you turn on when you start turning the system on, and the last thing that you turn off when you're done with the system. To turn it on, you simply press the button and the light will come on. To turn it off, you press it again and the light will turn off. You should be able to tell fairly easily when the power strip is on, because you'll see lights like this one here or on the front of this unit turn on. If those lights are on, then this power strip is on, and you'll be ready to have power to the rest of the system. The second thing to turn on is the sound system. The sound system in and of itself can seem a bit overwhelming, and in fact, in this shot, you can only see one of the 3 or 4 shelves that have important things on them. For the purposes of turning on the sound system, this is the only spot you need to see. There's a power strip tucked away to the left of the CD player and amplifier, which can be seen right here when my hand's not in the way. There's a switch on that power strip right below the green light that's currently on. That green light means that the power strip is on, which it shouldn't be because we haven't turned it on yet, but I'm using the sound system to record this video. So when you come in, none of these lights will be on or flashing, but you reach into the switch directly below the green light and press it. And when you do, the green light on the power strip will light up and all of the power in this whole cabinet will turn on. You do not need to turn on any of the individual components individually, and you should not try to do so. When you're done with the service, you turn off the power strip without turning off any of the individual components. You should not ever power off individual components. You should turn the whole system on and off with that one switch. Turning off the power to the cabinet here should usually be the second to the last thing that you do just before turning off the power strip. Some weeks, Danielle may wish to stay after service to practice music with soloists. Usually when she does so, she likes to have the system on, the sound system on. On those weeks, you'll leave it on and she'll flip that switch when she's done. Otherwise, turn this off before the power strip. Once you've turned on the power strip and the sound system, the next step is to turn on the computer. Now, I'm using this computer to make this recording right now, so I can't actually show you the power-up sequence. But you'll be able to tell that the power strip is providing power to the computer because the blue light on this power cord right here will be on. When you open the screen to the laptop, likely the screen will light right up and prompt you for a password. If that doesn't happen, there is a power button right here below the Dell logo. You can press that to turn the laptop on. When the prompt comes up for the password, put in the password. I can't tell you what the password is on a public video, but if you don't already know it, ask Garner or Justin or Amy, or check and see if it's written on a Post-it note somewhere in the sound booth area. Once you've put in the password, hit enter, and this screen that you see right here will pop up. Once you've turned the computer on, the next step is to turn on all of the screens in the sanctuary. There are 2 in the front of the sanctuary on either side of the altar area, and there's 1 in the back of the sanctuary above the big open doorway that connects the back area with the rocking chairs and whatnot to the area with the pews. It's right above that. There are 3 remotes. All of them look identical, and all of them actually function identically, and all 3 will turn on any of the 3 television screens. So pick any of the remotes that you like, walk around the sanctuary, and press the red power button as you pass near each of the screens. In order to turn the camcorder on, look on the side panel where the display screen is. And on that side, you'll see a button near the top labeled on/off. Simply press that button, and then you'll have to wait for a moment for the power to come up. Once you can see the power on and the image appearing on the display screen, you can adjust the zoom, which is this button on the top, sliding it one way or the other to zoom in or out until you have the picture framed the way that you want it. On the side of the camera, opposite the display screen, there's this small little switch that's difficult to see. This opens and closes the shutter on the front. So you have to make sure at some point in the process, whether before or after turning the power on, that you press it down to open the shutter on the front. I guess shutter is the wrong word, but the screen blocker thing. Make sure that that's open, otherwise the display screen will just be black and you won't be able to record anything. That's all you need to do to turn the camera on, and remember to zoom it in or out as appropriate. When you're done with the service and you've stopped recording and stopped streaming, you don't need to worry about adjusting the zoom at all. You just need to power off the camera with the same on-off button that you use to turn it on, and then you need to close the cap, the lens cap cover, whatever you want to call it. Close that so that the lens doesn't get scratched or dirty. Here you can see what the image on the camcorder should look like, or the image on OBS once you've gotten that far. When you first turn on the screens up front, you'll see the background from the laptop up here. That'll stay up as long as the laptop's on. If you haven't turned the laptop on yet, it'll just be a blue screen. But if the laptop is on, you should see this background image. What I usually like to do is turn on the laptop first, put the password in, and once that's up and running, I'll go and turn on the camcorder and then take a lap around the sanctuary to turn on each of the screens. And then I can adjust the zoom on the camcorder as I'm returning to the sound booth from turning on all the screens. And this is about where you want the zoom and how far you want the screen left and right. You want to make sure that the whole screen up front is visible on your image, whether you're looking at the display screen on the camcorder or in OBS. You want to see that whole screen up front so that the people at home can see the words for the call to worship and the opening prayer and those sorts of things. And you want to make sure that the pulpit is visible on the right-hand side of the screen, because that's where the soloists will be, and the pastor may be planning on using the pulpit, or at least using it as a visual cue so they know how far they can move around in the front. Once you have a new pastor, they might want to change this framing, and if they do, they'll let you know. But for now, this is about where you want that to be. And you can adjust the zoom in and out accordingly to get it to this point. You can also turn the camera to the left and to the right to get it centered properly if it isn't. Now there are a couple of things that you'll need to do here. The first is open Google Chrome, and actually you're going to want to open it twice. So double click on the icon to open it, double click again to open it a second time. On one of these two Google Chromes, you're going to open Gmail. Now right now, as you can see from this image in the corner here, it's set up to my Gmail account, which is fine because I have the slides from last week in here. This will, in the future, be set up with a church Gmail account, but you'll follow the exact same process to get to the slides for the coming week. So open Gmail, and in your Gmail folder, locate the slides for the appropriate week and click on them. You can see they open right in the Google Slides program. And in order to display them, you go up to Present. Now, if you know what's going on during the week, it doesn't hurt to check these during that week's service. It doesn't hurt to check these and make sure that everything's in the proper order and there's no spelling mistakes or anything like that. If you don't know what's going on, you can just trust that they've been checked by someone else. But if you have the time and you know what to look for, you can check those. Once you're ready, go to the Present button. Click on that, and you can see that it switches to full screen. Now, unfortunately, this is full screen on the laptop, and it's not displaying on the screens at the front of the sanctuary at all. So what you have to do is take your cursor and go down to the bottom left-hand corner, and this little menu thing will pop up. Click on the three dots for more options, and a box will pop up. I don't know how well you can read this on the screen, but one of the options is Open Speaker Notes. Right now it's the top option, and you can see there's sort of three lines next to it. Click on that, and now you have two windows. You have the window that has the display that you want up on the screen, and you have this window here that shows you the current slide along with the previous slide and the next slide. You can drag one corner of this window out to make it bigger, and there's a bar right here that separates the gray area from the white area. Drag that to the right, and that'll increase the size of the slide so that you can see clearly what you're going to display. Now, this window here that shows what you want up on the screen, you have to grab it by the top. So slide the cursor up to this gray area, press down on the left click side of the touchpad, and hold it down. And that'll lock your cursor onto the screen, and you can move it around. Now drag that to the right, and that will move it up to the screen on the front. You can see it disappearing from this screen. It's not just vanishing. If you could see the screen at the front of the sanctuary right now, you would see that it's appearing on that screen. You can see here that I've switched camera positions, so you can see the screen at the front of the sanctuary instead of the screen of the laptop. And here you can see as I scroll that window over to the right, it disappears from the laptop screen and it arrives on the screen at the front of the sanctuary. Now, once you've moved that back over here, you go down, back down to that bottom left-hand corner, back to that menu screen that pops up. This might be hard to see from sitting in the back of the sanctuary. If you have glasses, you might want to make sure you have them with you. But on the right-hand side, again, there's those three dots, and you click on that, and the window will pop up. And then you scroll back up to enter full screen, which you should be able to hopefully see there's sort of a little square next to. It's not quite a full square. The center of each side is missing, but you click on that square, and it switches it back to full screen. So now you have your slides up in full screen on the screen, and you can slide your cursor back to the left off of that screen, and it'll show back up on the laptop. So once you've got the screen all set up in the front of the sanctuary, from the sound booth you can only see one, but all three screens will display the same thing. So if it looks right on the one screen you can see, it'll look fine on the others as well. So once you've finished that, you're going to come back to this other window that you opened for Google Chrome. The reason we open two is because if you only open one, once you move it over onto the other screen, if you try to open a new one, it'll show up front instead of on your screen where you need it to be. Now, if that happens, I do address in the FAQ at the end of the video how to fix that. But for now, just remember to open two of these before you set up the screen in front. Now, on the second one, you're going to open Facebook. And again, right now it's set up to my Facebook. In the near future, we're going to switch that over to an administrative account that'll be set up through the church email. But once you're here in Facebook, you're going to click on Middleport United Methodist Church Group, and that'll bring up our homepage. And you can leave that right here for now, because there's another step that we need before we can start streaming the live video. And that is to come down here and click on this icon labeled OBS Studio. Now, what you're going to see in a second when I click this is a little bit different than what you'll see when you're starting it up normally, because I am currently recording this video through the same software that you'll use for streaming. So I'll pull that up, and instead, oh, here we go. It's not going to let me. Double click on that, and a screen very similar to this will pop up. You won't get this weird recursive thing going on because you won't be recording the laptop itself. But this screen will pop up. If everything is working smoothly, when anyone does anything with the sound system, you'll see this green bar here moving. Right now it's moving when I speak, and you should see it go up when I'm talking and down when I stop. That lets you know that you're recording properly. I'll leave a note in the FAQ for if it doesn't seem to be working correctly. But for now, all you really need to know is as long as what you want to see recorded is on this screen and this bar is moving appropriately, your video and audio should both be working correctly. So in order to, if you'd like to record the service, all you have to do is come over here where it currently says stop recording. That's because I'm recording already. You click on it, it'll normally say start recording, like this one says start streaming, or this one says start virtual camera. Click on this one, it says start recording, and it'll begin recording the service, or whatever else you're recording. When you're done, simply click on stop recording, which I can't do now because it will end the video, but click on that and it'll stop recording. Similarly, when it's time to stream the service, what you'll want to do is on the church's homepage for the church group in Facebook, scroll down. It may take a little bit, but you scroll down until you find the option to create a new post. Here we go, create posts. And down here right below that, there's an option to create a live video. I'm going to scroll down a little bit farther so you can see that better. Click on live video. And that'll bring up this screen. This should already be set up. You're going to want to use a stream key. It should already be saved in the profile. If it's not, you're going to have to do a YouTube search for setting up Facebook Live with OBS. And it'll show you, when you find a video for setting up Facebook Live with OBS, it'll walk you through the process of getting the stream key again and saving it again. It should already be done when you try to do this. And if you're here on a Sunday morning frantically trying to get this set up, it's probably too late for you to search for that video unless you're here good and early. So if you are pressed for time and this isn't working, you may need to just record the service and upload it to Facebook later. But on the left-hand side here, you'll see an option when you scroll down for a title and say something about this video. Those are required fields, so fill something in. We usually write church or service followed by the date for the title, and then down here a little message like welcome to worship online or please join us for worship online, and the date, and then usually a very brief description or hint about what the sermon or the focus of the service that week is going to be. in order to continue the demonstration, I'll have to type something in here just to, what were the slides, 13th? I have to type something in here just to be able to show you how this works. All right, so once you've entered some things in there, click back to OBS and click Start Streaming. And when you start streaming, you'll see connecting live video down here, and then you'll see the video from OBS in that little screen on OBS show up down here. Once that happens, this box over here will change from being grayed out to being a blue box that says Go Live. I'm not going to click it right now because I would post a live video of me explaining this to Facebook, but you click on the Go Live button, and then you'll start streaming. It'll stream whatever's in this box, which is the same as whatever's on this screen here and this audio down here. Let that run for the course of the service, and when the service ends, the first thing you'll want to do is in here, this will have changed to a red box that says End Live or something along those lines. So you'll just click that box and it'll end the recording. It'll ask you if you're sure you want to end, and you just click yes. Once that's done, come back to OBS and tell it to stop streaming. And if you've been recording the service, you can tell it to stop recording as well. Again, I can't push that button right now because if I tell it to stop recording, the video will end. I am going to minimize this, so we'll pretend if you've recorded the service, you'll also want to come over to File, Show Recordings, and that'll show you a list of all your current recordings. You'll want to name the recording that you just made. You can see we usually label them service and then the date. You can't save them with slashes, so you have to use hyphens instead of slashes in your date. The computer has about 250 gigabytes of memory, which sounds like a pretty significant amount, but the videos are usually around 4 gigabytes each. So if you want to save all of them, you're going to need to purchase an external hard drive, or the church will need to purchase one. Or if you'd like to just save the one that you're running the system for, you can bring a thumb drive. Most standard thumb drives will hold enough to be able to fit the video on there. So once you save it, I usually do about a month at a time on my own external hard drive. If you have a thumb drive, you can just transfer it from this folder directly to your thumb drive or to whatever external memory you have. But change the name of it, move it if you need to, and then you can X out of here, X out of here. I'm going to minimize it instead because I'm still using it. And then you'll have Google, or you'll have your Google Chrome window here, and you'll also have a hidden Google Chrome. Now, you can drag the hidden Google Chrome back over here if you, following the same process that you used to drag it over to that screen in the first place, only moving left instead of right. Or, as long as you still have Facebook open, you can come down here and X out that way. Just make sure you close the one on the other screen first. By doing that, you're left with your Google here, and when your Chrome here, and when you close this one, next time you open it, it'll be here instead of showing up on the other screen. Now, while you're here, if the video's been running all through church, you should have a bunch of comments over here that people have made during service. And this is optional, but I always like to, while I'm still logged on as the church, go through and just click like on the comments where people are checking in and letting you know they're in service, and maybe do the little caring emoji for prayer requests and things like that. Again, it's optional, but I think it feels nice for people to know that they've been noticed at church and that the prayer requests they share have been seen. But when you're done with that, you can go ahead and close out of this. And then you can turn off the computer whenever you like. This is the mixer for our sound system, and frankly, it deserves an entire video or more on its own. I don't have the time or the expertise to do that, but a quick YouTube search would probably turn up a lot of helpful information. For the purpose of addressing some frequently asked questions or some issues that are likely to come up, there are 3 ways to adjust volume on this mixer. And they do different things and should be used for different purposes. If somebody's using a microphone and they're not loud enough in the room, people can't hear them well enough in the sanctuary, select the channel. There's buttons right here, you press and they turn blue to select the channel you'd like to adjust. You can see there's green lights lighting up here. That's because this is the microphone I'm currently using, and you should be able to see green lights to indicate which microphone somebody's on, although they're also labeled. You can't see them in the video very well, but there's a little sticker on each channel that tells you what it's connected to. So choose the channel that you need to adjust and press the button so that it glows blue. That will put you on that channel, and then you can use this green knob that says adjust to turn the volume for that channel up and down. You should be on the main page of this screen right here, also known as main mixer, which is the default setting when you turn it on, and that will turn your volume up or down inside the sanctuary. If somebody needs to be adjusted on the computer, if they sound okay in the room, but they're not loud enough or they're too loud on the video, look for the button labeled aux 8 send down in the bottom right hand corner. When you press that button, it'll switch to a different screen where you see a bunch of knobs with different levels on them. You follow the same process, press the button for the channel that you want to adjust. Why did it do that? You can also, this is also a touch screen, so you can just touch what you want right here. And when you have the appropriate channel, use the green adjust knob to turn it up or down, and it'll adjust the volume on the video accordingly. If it's a microphone, it'll be aux 8. If it's one of the mics that's used for the piano or the organ, those are in aux 7. So you do the same thing, but you press the aux 7 button and then choose the channel that you want to adjust with the touch screen. Adjust it with the green knob. And there's a back to mixer button that you'll see in the upper left hand corner of the screen to get you back to the main mixer when you're done with that. The final way to adjust the volume is this series of knobs at the very top of the mixer. Those are the gain. It turns up the volume of the signal as it's coming into the mixer instead of as it's going out. Turning that knob will adjust somebody's volume both in the sanctuary and on the video. However, the mixer has the ability to save settings, but it doesn't save the gain settings. So if you adjust a gain knob, you have to remember to turn it back to where it was before, or else in following weeks, the gain will be off for that channel, which will throw off the volume for anyone else using that microphone. Sometimes when you click on Google Chrome or potentially other programs, you won't see anything show up on your screen here. That could be a problem with the computer just acting very slowly. But more likely, especially in the case of Google Chrome, what's happened is that somebody closed it last time when it was set up for the other screen. And if you look up, if the screens are turned on, if you look up, you may see it on the screen at the front of the sanctuary. If that's the case, what you'll have to do is slide your cursor over to the other screen, which you do just by scrolling right off the right-hand side of the monitor. Once your cursor is over on the other screen, which you can see right here swirling around the Google logo, what you'll need to do is go up to the top of the screen to the gray bar, click down the cursor and hold it down while you slide the image off of that front screen. And as you do, it should appear on the laptop screen. Here you can see the window scrolling onto your screen as you move it left off of the monitor. And once it's fully on your screen, then you can release the cursor and you'll be able to work with this normally. When you're done with it, if you leave it on this screen, when you close it, the next time you log in, when you click Google Chrome, it'll show up right here again. If you put it back up on the screen in the front, then close it either by scrolling your cursor back onto the front screen or by closing it out down here without moving it to the screen again. You'll have the same problem next time. When you try to open Google Chrome, you won't see it on the laptop because it will already be up on the screen. So I mentioned earlier in the video that there's a chance this green bar might not be moving appropriately when you turn on OBS. Unfortunately, I can't actually demonstrate that for you because I'm recording the sound for this video on OBS as I show you this. But there may be times where you try to do this and this top bar looks like the lower bars and just nothing is moving. Or it's also possible that this bar might be moving out of sync with a microphone. And I'll explain now why that happens and how to fix it. Usually it's going to be a result of turning on OBS before the sound system is turned on, or it could potentially be an issue with a connection from the sound system to the computer. But what's happened is this input has been switched to something else. If you turn on OBS before the sound system is turned on and properly connected to the computer won't be able to find it, and so it'll look for another microphone. Sometimes it'll pick something that's not doing anything at all, and when that's the case, this will just be a dead line like these lower ones. Sometimes it may default to the onboard microphone on the computer itself or the onboard microphone on the camcorder. And when it does that, this meter will move with any noise in the sound booth or any noise near the camcorder instead of what's coming through the microphones. Obviously, that's less than ideal. The sound that does come through during the service is going to be muddled, and if there's any kind of room noise, you're going to hear that instead of what you want to hear. So in order to fix that, what you do is come down here to where it says Sources, just to the left of those bars. And one of the sources will have a microphone next to it, and right now it's labeled Audio Input Capture. So you click on that, and then you should be able to see right here above those bars it says Device, and next to Device it says Microphone, and then in parentheses it says USB Audio Codec. That is the one that you want. The USB audio codec is the mixer sending the signal to the computer. If it says anything else, or if it says that but isn't working correctly, you can use this drop-down menu, and you can see there are other options. There's default, there's ever USB audio device, Snap, Smart Sound Technology, Intel, that's the onboard microphone. None of these are what you want, so if it says any of those, come down to the bottom and click USB audio codec. If it already says that and it's not working, try clicking one of these other options like default, and give it a second to load that, and then come back in and do it again, but click USB audio codec that time. And as long as the soundboard is turned on, it should correct itself. In a really bad case, if you can't get that fixed, what you have to do is come down over here under here underneath where the input sources are. You'll see there's a plus, a minus, a cog, and some arrows. If you click minus, once you've highlighted the sound, it'll actually remove that device entirely, and then you can click plus to add one. And on your options to add, you'll be able to find that USB audio codec as long as the soundboard's on. So just re-add that, and then it should be working fine. It's possible that the same thing could happen with the video. The video tends to be more forgiving, but it is possible that you'll just have a black screen here. And usually that means there's a problem with one of the wires being disconnected to the camera, or maybe you forgot to turn the camera on. But if that happens, you can do the same thing. You can see when you click on it, it doesn't give you an option bar like the sound did. But you can usually, if you just check the connections and make sure the camera's on, once it is, it'll pop up normally. If for some reason after making sure the camera's not on and everything's corrected properly, it's still not showing up, follow that same process. Use the minus sign to delete it as a source, use the plus sign to re-add it, and it's labeled Vixia. You'll be able to get the information right off the camcorder housing itself and just find that input and add it, and it should work fine.